This is Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur with your host, Lynn Freest. Lynn will share ideas and expert advice from people that are walking in your shoes and living their encore careers, where they want and at the pace they want. You'll start a company of one with confidence and knowledge to live a fulfilled life of freedom and ease. Lynn is a coach and leadership consultant whose mission is to show senior leaders and experts how to start something refreshing and new after a full career in the corporate environment.
Welcome to this episode of Creating Your Encore Career and Becoming a Silver Entrepreneur. As always, thanks for listening. With an encore career, you can be creating value in the world beyond just winning that next pickleball game. You can work when you want, where you want, and you can do the work you love. You can live your dream. And if you're ready to get started today, please contact me at lynn@lynnfreest.com. This is episode 194, and it's entitled The Problems with Purpose. So, the journey of purpose and why it's more than just about achievements. Now, sometimes in my work, people have said purpose has a bad name. So in this episode, we're going to explore some of the perspectives on purpose and how it relates to, doing versus being, your curiosity, helping others, and such items as that. And we'll also discuss why purpose is a journey, and it's a verb, not really a noun. A lot of this comes from my work with the Modern Elder Academy. They have a wonderful online course around purpose, as well as an online course around transitions. And then they have in-person courses. So great resources for you to consider, and the links will be in the show notes. What's the stigma around purpose? I think a lot of it comes from people's corporate view of purpose, or their view that it has to be a save the world kind of a thing. But certainly, if we're coming out of the corporate life, we talk about corporate purpose, then we go right into corporate goals, all things considered in the corporate world. So it tends to be about striving. Well, as we enter that encore career period, we may still want to do some work, but it's not in the same sense as the corporate world. So I think, and then a lot of people who want to pursue other things outside of the work life, traditional work life, that whole idea of purpose in the context that they bring from the corporate world isn't that effective. So it's one of those things where, because purpose in the corporate world is often tied to achievement and striving, it leads people to think they have to have great big purposes, those kinds of things. But that's not what purpose necessarily is about as we launch into this encore period of our lives. So purpose may be more about being than about doing, and we'll go into some of that a little bit more. But the whole thing is, you really have to reframe how you think about purpose and not just toss it aside saying, I'm not going to have any purpose. Now, again, people sometimes say that they need a small purpose versus a big purpose. And again, there is no reason or logic or scale for what your purpose has or should be. It's just your purpose. And to get into that, some of the facets of a purpose. So, for example, for me, one of the big facets of my purpose is curiosity. I want to learn new things, share things with people, help people. For me, purpose is around the whole idea of, what am I curious about? As I mentioned earlier, I think other people say at this point, their purpose is more around being than doing. So it's the idea that you really want to, I'll say, be a better person or enlightened person or whatever it may be. Your purpose may be to be the best possible grandparent that you can be. Or your purpose may be to take a picture of every sunrise for a year. So your purpose could be a wide variety of things. And it doesn't have to, doesn't have to have that connotation as I'm going to save the world, or I'm going to do this activity, or I'm going to achieve this. And quite frankly, it can change over time. I think of the idea of people who are stepping away from the fast-paced corporate life, where striving was the key thing and the corporate purpose was the key thing. They're looking for a sabbatical at this point, quite frankly, some recovery, some rest, some how to rejuvenate things. And they may want to spend some time just thinking about purpose rather than saying, I've got it yet. They'll just want to maybe explore different purposes. And that's exactly what you need to do as you start that step away from the corporate life. But I think then, too, you have to think about what motivates you. Why do you get up in the morning? Purpose can be as simple as that. I get up in the morning to spend time with my spouse. I get up in the morning so that I can help out in the food bank. I get up in the morning so I can go out and work in my garden, or any number of things. But that idea of a different way to think about purpose is, why are you getting up in the morning? It may be that at some point you say, I want to teach my grandchildren my values, my experiences, so that they can build on that legacy. It could be that I want to teach the next generation of people in my field how to be successful. It could be that I just want to learn to take great and incredible pictures, or I want to learn how different cultures live and work and thrive. So again, it's really more of a journey, as I keep saying. So we'll go into that next. People say, this idea of purpose is a thing. Modern Elder Academy, they talk about purpose as being more of a verb than a noun. So purpose isn't something you do, achieve, accomplish, and by golly, I won. I won my purpose. No, it's really more of a journey. It doesn't have a fixed destination. It's really a continuous process of growth and development. How am I growing? It could be that I'm gaining a better understanding of myself, my world, my family, whatever it may be. And quite frankly, it can change. It could be, what am I doing right now in the first 2 years after my corporate life? My purpose may be just exploring what it is I want to do in the following 10 to 20 years of my life. And I think that's, kind of another interesting question that when you talk about purpose is, what would keep you up and going for the next 20 years of your life? Again, there may be a purpose right now for the next 6 months or 2 years of your life. But then think, I know I've heard some people say after about 2 years, their bucket list wasn't as inspiring to them anymore, or they'd traveled and, doing another cruise wasn't going to be that exciting, or they'd really fixed up everything around the house they'd intended to. So all those things, like I said, it can change. So never think of purpose as being a one-time event or a one-time achievement. And I believe it's also true that because we're living longer and we're living healthier longer, often in retirement, purpose was just about preparing to die, you might say. There's going to be a lot more time than that for at least many of us that are going to be fortunate enough to have that time. Again, that I go back to that thing. What might be interesting to you for 10 or 20 years, not just what am I going to do in the next 6 months or a year? So recapping what we've talked about here a little bit was why purpose has a bit of a bad name. And again, I would suggest that we've got it too closely tied to corporate purposes and corporate and striving and those kinds of things, when purpose has really got many facets to it. We talked about some of the different things. You could have a focus on being rather than doing as you enter this encore part of your life. And then boiling purpose down to simply saying, hey, what gets you up in the morning? What is it? Why do you get up and do something, whatever it may be? It could be, like I said, a simple thing. It could be a great adventure you're on, whatever it may be. But then finally, we talked about purpose is a journey, or as they say in the Modern Elder Academy, purpose is a verb and not a noun. You're going to have some time to explore these things. Take that time, but maintain your curiosity, because it could be that you'll find some interesting things if you just stay curious. So that sort of concludes this episode on purpose. I have not covered the whole landscape of this big topic, but I encourage you, and be in the show notes, there's a link to the Modern Elder Academy and their class on purpose, and also to a book that I found very enlightening. It was titled, Who Do You Want to Be When You Grow Old? By Richard Leiter and David Shapiro. Again, and I know there's all kinds of resources out there about purpose. Please explore a little bit about purpose and its various facets, and then think about what that means to you each and every day for your encore career and encore life. Well, with an encore career, the rewards are great. you can be creating value in the world beyond just winning that next pickleball game. You can work when you want, where you want, and you can do the work you love. So if you're ready to get started today, please contact me at lynn@lynnfrias.com or head over to lynnfrias.com, listen to a few podcasts, check out the email list, and we'll see you soon in our next episode. Thanks again.